Hello everybody and welcome back. It is episode 19 of Right to the Source. My name is Robin Harrison and I'm here as ever with the Thelma to my Louise and the slightly bleary-eyed Ed Birkin. Ed, how are you and how is Lisbon?
I am fantastic. Thank you, Robin. Lisbon is a little overcast today, but compared to the weather back in the UK, I think it's tropical, pretty much.
Wow. So how have you found it? What's been going on? Give us an idea of what's been happening on the show floor, the conversations, the gossip, all of that.
Well, I must admit, so I haven't been to SPC Lisbon before. I've been to a couple of SPC events, but it's a good show. It's been a good show. And actually everyone I've spoken to said last year wasn't, I think they moved it here from Barcelona for the first time and, you know, you could tell it had some teething problems. But this year the feedback's been good. You know, I know it's not ICE or IGB live, as you guys would say, but, you know, hats off. You know, compared to other ones I've been to. Yeah, it's good. A lot of people here. I mean, we'll just get straight into the data and rant and numbers of the week. So not wanting to go back to our old friend, the Sleeping Giants, but the Steve Sidwell of IGB was conducting his interviews on the show floor yesterday. And the feedback to me was that the range of estimates for the illegal market in Brazil range from 15% to 90% now.
Wow.
Seems to be growing.
Wow.
So, I mean, 90%, that would put the market at, well, the illegal market at about 335 billion reais, or about 3% of the whole of Brazil's GDP. So, you know, there's people who genuinely believe that, apparently. I know. So, and it's, you know, I think it's just one of these teething problems the market has where there's just so much disinformation that's going around there. Disinformation, misinformation, you know, and they need to sort it out, quite frankly. Unless everyone's going to be on the same page. It reminds me a bit of a story I was told years ago about Greece, when Greece was first trying to regulate. And the commercial operators couldn't really get in. And I was speaking to one of them afterwards, and he said, the main problem was we were just arguing between ourselves. You know, we were trying to argue that you shouldn't allow betting exchanges because you could bet against things happening. They were arguing that, you know, they had more transparency and they were better than we were as normal commercial bookmakers. So quite frankly, the government just listened to OPAP and said, you know, why do you want any of them? We're this trusted monopoly. We've been doing this for years. And they pretty much closed the market initially to them all. With all the different trade associations and all the different numbers out there, I think unless everyone gets on the same page, it's going to be very hard to fight against what is, to be honest, quite a hostile, I think, environment with the media and with the legislators. But, you know, that's something they'll perhaps going to learn the hard way. So that's my numbers. The other numbers is zero wins for any of my teams this week. The Jags lost to the Bengals in a very closely fought 27-31 game. And Sheffield Wednesday, unfortunately, went out the Carabao Cup to the mighty Grimsby, who, having knocked out Man U, I wouldn't say this is a giant killing to beat Sheffield Wednesday, if I'm honest, but, you know, we want to concentrate on the league. You know, that solitary point we've got in the league, you know, I think it's important to build on that.
How did you get on at the weekend in the league?
I mean, so we're 3-0 down at half time and they had 2 shots on target. So, you know, adding a solid own goal. Let's just say I was glad it was a game I didn't actually go to. But congratulations to Bristol, you know, your newfound home team. Oh, do you want to hear something else very amusing that I heard?
All right,
this was hilarious. So I'll just get up to make sure that I don't misquote it whatsoever. So to do with your team, your first love, which is
Celtic.
Okay. I recognise the name. Do you know Ryan Nolan?
Ryan Nolan.
It's from his account. Celtic are the biggest club in the UK, and it's not even close. If we were in the Premier League, no one would have as much pull as us, and the English hate it. I mean, for starters, if they're in the English league, they would not be in the Premier League. I mean, and also, how deluded is that the biggest club in the UK? Even for someone who's a fan, you've got to admit that's absolutely rubbish.
We do have a lot more international pool than you'd expect. Maybe not to the level of the big commercialised, corporatised Premier League clubs, but it's organic, genuine fans around the world.
I'm not arguing you have organic, genuine fans, but to claim you're the biggest club in the UK, it just obviously... Anyway, I think that's probably enough for false claims, be it on the show floor or on the Twitter sphere or whatever it's called, the X sphere.
X sphere, Twitter sphere. Well, yes. So
can I ask you a question, Robin? You're in the media side of things. Have you got a Telegram account?
I don't.
I don't. And someone asked me that when they wanted my contact details, and I said no. And they just looked at me in complete shock as if they didn't know what to do. I mean, I don't know anything about it really. I assume it's like Twitter. Is it? No, Instagram.
No,
something?
I suppose like WhatsApp, and it's an encrypted messaging platform.
Maybe we need to get down with the times. Anyway,
Yeah.
onto the podcast. What are we talking about this week?
Yeah. So what are we talking about? Do you want a top story?
Yes, please.
Well,
I mean, given it seems that every single person at Clarion is in Lisbon, I'm not sure what work's been done, but go on.
well, this is actually a bit cross-promotional, but on the Right to the Source sister podcast, shall we call it, the World Series of Politics?
I'd probably call it parental podcast.
Parental podcast, master podcast. So really interesting one this week.
Very, very serious, much more serious older brother.
Yeah,
Great
the grown-up podcast.
The one who went to university, the one that's off to college and, wears its chinos and, slacks and shirt and
Yeah,
just can fumble around.
Yeah, the Springsteen to our Fugazi.
Actually, talking about slacks, and sorry to interrupt your cross-promotional story of the week. So I was asking Sean about dungarees the other day, and
Okay.
we do have something now. Painters and decorators do often wear dungarees rather than full-on coveralls.
And fishermen. You think like the trawlermen, that counts as dungarees.
Yeah, there you go. So it's not just Mario and Luigi. Oh. And if no one's got an idea what we're talking about, you should have listened to the last podcast.
Exactly. But no, the one that I'm going to bring up is latest World Series of Politics. So we have Dave Rebuck on. So Dave Rebuck was obviously a executive director of the New Jersey Division of Gaming Enforcement, and he's now left that role. And I think when he was at the DGE, obviously he's kind of like a state ambassador. There's kind of like a limit to what you can say. But having left that role, the gloves are off. So It's Dave talking about sweepstakes and predictions, and it's good. It's worth a listen.
Okay, so I haven't listened yet. I'm not wanting to give away all the juicy stuff, but I imagine he's anti-sweepstakes and prediction markets and think they're just getting around what is effectively you have well-crafted or attempted to be well-crafted legislation across various states, and if they don't want gaming or betting, they don't want it. So this just is trying to get in the back door, yeah?
Exactly that. It's very good. He's very good. And also, we will be doing an episode of this podcast on the show floor at G.
Okay, so that will be in
Las Vegas.
You know what? Thanks. I think is it 2 weeks or 3 weeks?
I think 3 weeks.
You know what we should do? We should maybe skip a week, and then we could have our 21st show in Vegas. Because 21 is the legal age you can do everything in the US. Blah blah blah.
I got it.
You got that?
I got it. Yeah. Yeah, it was very good. It was very good. Very well.
So thinking the other thing we could do is our 21st show. We can make it special by having a guest, but that's not going to happen. So
I thought
it'll just be us two talking crap.
I thought it would be good to have a guest.
In Vegas or just generally?
In Vegas. I mean, in general, yeah, we should probably look at getting guests.
Yeah. Okay. So Vegas, let's get a guest.
Yeah.
I'll leave that to you. What day are we going to record it?
Well, we have a podcast schedule. So, I mean, this is literally us just working out logistics live on a podcast. So let's move away from that. But it was just to give people a teaser rather than to discuss the ins and outs of doing a podcast on the show floor.
Don't forget we've got the NHL game. No clashes for that, okay?
Okay. I won't do a podcast in the middle of the evening.
Do a clip from the NHL game.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you can cut it in somehow. Anyway, okay, so story of the week, that's good.
Yeah. So this week we are talking about the Congo. We are talking about Mauritius and we are talking about Zynga. So because I just mentioned sweepstakes and predictions, I think it's actually quite interesting to talk about Zynga. Because if you hark back to 2012, or probably around 2011 kind of onwards, there was a sort of boom in the industry of social casino games, free-to-play casino rather than the kind of dual currency sweepstakes model. No ability to take money out, anything like that. But at the crest of that wave was Zynga Poker. Built up a huge audience of monthly active users, but was one of many. So you also had Playtika, which was acquired by Caesars Interactive as it was then. You had Buffalo Studios.
They then sold out for good profit, I believe. The
I think they
Playtika?
sold, I think they sold the Playtika business for 4.4 billion, something like that. Then there were things like Buffalo Studios with a Bingo Blitz. There were, there's a whole, Double Down
You had,
Casino.
yeah, I was IGT bought Double Down, didn't they?
Yeah,
And
500 million.
then they sold it again for Double Down Interactive to a Asian
Korean
business,
business,
Korean
so
business.
called W Games.
Yes.
Yeah. And then you also had things like the assets that formed SciPlay, all these things. So there was this real kind of boom, and it's just quite. And I think the parallels between that era and the current one are quite interesting, because at that time the buyers were really the legacy US land-based businesses.
Mm-hmm.
These were the companies buying up essentially kind of light touch interactive assets, game, kind of like apps that were essentially a way to engage players, and then ultimately, I suppose, kind of cross-sell them into kind of like the in-person real money gaming offering.
Okay.
That's really what was kind of happening.
Okay, so
Yeah.
guess what the top two markets in social casino were? Because we did actually have spent weeks putting together this very detailed social casino data set.
Mm-hmm.
We don't. It's still there. It's not something we focus on now as the interest has kind of moved away from it. But the top two biggest markets for social casino,
US.
Yeah, followed by
Asia.
If you're taking Asia as a whole, country-wise, Australia. The two markets, which at the time, so looking at 2023, with the exception of a couple of small ones, not small, a couple of states, don't have legal access. And it was so with Australia, it's not trying to push it towards an aristocrat bought. Who did they buy?
Big Fish.
Yes, Big Fish. Which has social casino, but also has non-casino gaming. It's just generally social gaming. So I don't think it's fair they're necessarily looking to push them into real money gaming. It was just a way, it's not for everyone, but it's just a way to try and monetize it. And it started off with people playing on Facebook. And they're playing these games. Then the dedicated apps. Yes, there is the casino aspect to it, but then Zynga, Farmville, I think, was their biggest.
Yeah, well, the reason why I bring up why I made that kind of, presumably at some point cross-sell them into real money is from that whole era. I don't think we ever really saw the end game of what was essentially meant to happen with that. So when you think about that kind of time, you did have that kind of Facebook real money kind of test. So you had GameSys doing a paid product, like a real money gaming product on Facebook. You had a Zynga offering. You had a company, I think it was Bonza, they were called. They were doing kind of like slots on Facebook. Real Money 888 had an offering as well. But none of these things ever really kind of, set the heather alight. I mean, obviously they were very kind of limited in terms of the markets they could go into. But it felt like there was never really a kind of like clear endpoint for these things, how this kind of linked up with the rest of the business. And you could even argue that something like that SciPlay, with Light and Wonder, I mean, that was obviously acquired, built up, then spun off, and is now being kind of like reabsorbed. There was I suppose these social casino products, while they did engage that audience, was it really just a revenue stream, just an additional revenue stream, or was it, or do you feel there was ever grander designs and kind of integrating this into kind of like a kind of, like a kind of gaming flywheel?
So, okay, so let's not use the word flywheel or flywheel effect. It annoys the hell out of me. It's something that has got, I think Entain were the ones who used to do it first, and now Flutter do it, and it's just anyway. But yes, okay, the non-flywheel. Look, I think there's a couple of aspects. So my understanding, which could be wrong, is the likes of SciPlay, Aristocrats. I think why they were buying it, one of the reasons was they're saying that we have all this products that we use for real money gaming. We can just use this product for social casino, not to try and then get players to convert them. Let's say in Australia, online casino is very, very unlikely to ever get regulated. They have but just as we've got all this content and people are willing to spend money buying coins they can't change back to real money. I don't understand why, but people are willing to do that. So why not just have it as a revenue stream? but also non-social casino products. So if you look at Zynga, I mean, in 2017, they made $380 million in revenue from social casino. And in 2021, last set of results for this sold was 588 million. So they grew it. But if you look at their total business, the split of social casino versus casual games, in 2017, social casino was 44% of their revenues, casual games 56%. By 2021, social casino was just 21% and casual games were 79%. So, yes, they kind of started off with, I suppose, most well-known for us anyway, Zynga Poker, Farmville and stuff like that really, really took over. So yeah, they managed to get growth, but it was massively slow. It wasn't the driver of their business.
No, but there was also a lot of M&A, and they were acquiring a lot of like hyper casual games, like really, really basic kind of gesture based kind of titles. So they have been diversifying, and they do have, and like when you think back, they had like Game of Thrones slots, like free to play Game of Thrones slots. So they did put a lot of money into building up these things, but then equally, you look at something like Aristocrat, its social offering essentially pivoted away from social casino into these kind of different, into, kind of, I suppose, kind of formats you'd associate more with video games.
Yeah, and look, if you look at now, the owner of is Take-Two Interactive. The owner of Zynga, 2021 Zynga was 2.8 billion revenue. Take-Two Interactive, what did they get? They bought it in May 22 for 12.7 billion. Oh, it's too fuzzy to do the math, but 4 to 5 times revenue. So I say that's a big multiple. There was good growth in the business. What are Take-Two now? They are 5.6 billion of revenue. 60% is from the US, and their most significant titles are Grand Theft Auto, NBA 2K. I suppose that links back as well to, you've got NBA 2K and then going back to esports and, back to real money gambling again.
Well, also in the Grand Theft Auto Online, there was a casino product. You could go to a casino, you could play it. Because we had an interview with one of the directors of Take-Two about that, a guy called Jay Moses.
On a really not interesting story, I reckon I played Grand Theft Auto when I've been like 17, so let's say kind of 2000, 2001, when it was kind of really like the graphics, it was just proper old school and you're just kind of getting into.
Yeah, it was all top down.
Yeah, ambulances and the fire engines and the motorbike. It was great. I mean, now it's probably just a completely different thing I wouldn't even recognise.
Oh yeah, now they're bringing out another one, which is, I mean, the last one was pretty amazing.
Well, they've delayed the latest one according to notes that someone else in my team did for me. Grand Theft Auto, how's it only 6? 6 is planned for FY27 after being delayed. Although, in fairness, they've got a March year end, so FY27 does mean from April 26. Oh, and then Zynga, the one we forgot, which was huge, I never played it, was Words with Friends.
Yeah, Words with Friends acquired that though, didn't it?
I will nod along and say absolutely.
I think it did. I think it did, yeah. It was kind of like a Scrabble type game.
Yeah.
I think it might have acquired that. I might have just made that up though. I mean, do you feel there are parallels to be drawn between that kind of era of people kind of diversifying by bringing these new products out and the current era of the kind of sweepstakes, predictions, competitors?
No. There's a loose connection, but I'd say no, because I think the big difference is these were businesses that were bought as legitimate revenue streams, making money on social casino, possibly of getting the, a customer list for anything that were to be real money, although I don't think that'd work. I remember speaking to, it was Bwin Party, I can't remember whether it was the Bwin guys or the Party guys at the time, who must be part of Poker. They had a free-to-play poker site before it all got closed down. Yeah. They had a free-to-play poker site in the US, and they tried to convert those people to their real money poker, and less than 1% of people converted. So people who play social casino are not necessarily going to play real money casino if the legislation does change. So I think it was a legitimate revenue stream for diversification. And also because of the content they had, the likes of Sly Games, Aristocrat, that they could then use that, away from just the real money gaming side of things. I don't think any of them, in my view, were in any way trying to circumvent legislation in order to get some form of real money gaming content. And I think that's the big difference between sweepstakes and predictions. Not saying they're not questioning the legality of anything of it. That's nothing to do with me. And we'll let Brendan and the guys talk about that. But without a doubt, they are trying to circumvent the fact that legislation is blocking real money gambling, or they're doing it in states where you are allowed it, but without the real money gambling license. And the social casino were never trying to do that.
No, couldn't have put it better myself.
Well, there we go. I think we've done that pretty well, which is good, because the country-wise, I'm thinking isn't going to go as well.
Don't damn it before we start.
Set expectations low.
All right. I mean, I think anyone who's listening has probably already lowered their expectations quite far. But should we start with Mauritius, or should we start with the Congo, Democratic Republic thereof?
We should. Was it? I don't think it was. Was it the DRC we're going, or was it the Republic of Congo?
I thought it was DRC. Because DRC is quite interesting, because that's a pretty huge market in terms of population. It's like, I think that's about 100 million people, isn't it?
It is larger, but I'm pretty sure that's the Republic of Congo, which is a very small market, or simply the Congo rather than DR Congo. So we're now talking about different markets. We might as well, as we start talking about it, go on to that. In Congo, there are two bits of. I think the main one is effectively Congolese, which is their lottery. It's been around since 1991 and runs the lottery and betting. You can probably tell I'm now reading this. It's been in decline for a number of years and is pretty much insolvent, even though it has about 1,000 outlets. Yeah, it is. It's just a mess. So it's been around a long time. No one trusts it. They don't, question about whether they can afford to pay their commissions, can afford to pay prizes. So I just don't actually see that really surviving. So they did regulate the online market in the second half of 2024. I think it was around September. I don't know exactly. And I actually don't have data on that. We are doing a deep dive of our Africa numbers at the moment. I think Africa is a very interesting market for us, where it's very hard to get data and there is no decent data there, quite frankly. I told you the story when I was at ICE 2 or 3 years ago. A South African dude came up to me, really nice guy, and he'd obviously had a drink and in a pub, and he was like, "Oh, H2, he goes, I love your data. Everyone's data on Africa is really shit, but yours is the least shit. It's great." And I was like, I don't know how to take that. And so I was a bit, and he goes, "Mate, it's fine." He goes, "Everyone's got 2 sets of books, so you'll never get the right data, but yours is the most realistic." I can take that as a compliment.
Yeah, I'll take that.
We need to do a deeper dive. So anyway, not the DRC I haven't looked at, because we did talk about Congo. So it's a 12.5% GGR tax, relatively attractive market, but the population is only 6.5 million. Adult population about 3.5 million, because it's a young demographic and fast growing. Back of the envelope, we'd probably put the online market maybe 150, 200 million US dollars. But we need to do analysis on that. That's just me kind of top level looking at tax rates, open analysis. DRC, very different, much bigger market. The kind of regulated market has been around for a lot longer. Although again, when you say regulated market, you kind of have to take that with a pinch of salt.
Well, with the DRC, and the more I think about it, maybe we did say Congo rather than DRC. And it feels like there was something I read a couple of months ago, maybe even a year ago, where there was some kind of like vague estimate of it as potentially being a $1 billion market, but the government gets like a fraction of that. So it's like a big kind of, basically the market was much bigger than there was actually coverage of it. So I think there's been some efforts to introduce kind of like a monitoring system to try and better kind of like size up and quantify the DRC's market, because for a market of 100 million people, that's kind of thing where, with a level of oversight, there is definitely potential there.
We've done some reports on this and on Africa recently, and one of them is looking at the monitoring. And the problem with the monitoring is certain countries, details of which ones or how it's being done, but certain ones are using a single operator, where then everything has to go through to track all the deposits and withdrawals. And it's just causing huge issues. They're not capable of having that level of volume. Mm-hmm. They then put on fees, and it seems like a small amount of fee. If they maybe will charge 2.5% of deposits or 2.5% withdrawals. Well, if it's a mainly a casino market, that's a huge amount of GGR. Whereas actually, because all the payments tend to go through mobile money operators, the operators can give what's called like view only access to it. So there are much cheaper ways of monitoring the market. But I think this is something, that needs to be done more widespread, because whereas we look at most markets, let's say back to Brazil, you've got the legal, so locally licensed and not locally licensed. And in Africa, you've got locally licensed that's paying some form of tax, or, their tax they should be paying. Locally licensed, they're paying a lot less tax than they should be. And non-locally licensed. And you just know that they're not paying tax just by the tax revenues. By the fact Kenya, the KRA, Kenya Revenue Authority, they say our tax revenues increased 79% this year because we're collecting more tax, not because the market's growing that much. You look at some and you work out the theoretical tax rate, and it's 100% of GGR. So clearly people aren't paying full tax. Because they can't.
No, absolutely not.
Yeah, that's what makes it hard. We need to try and get some better numbers. DRC, even though the market meant to talking about, given its size and everything, it's got huge potential. I've regulated it. It's about trying to get those people on shore and paying them if the tax rate is something which is a sustainable level, which the Congo has done.
And there is also, I think in DRC, there's also, is it a 10% tax on player winnings? They love a player winnings tax.
People do love a player winnings tax. I could actually tell you, again, if you tell me what we're talking about.
Well, I mean, on this, I will hold my hands up. I was wrong in what we're talking about.
It's all good. Why
It's
didn't you
organic.
tell me? Why didn't you tell me something about Mauritius?
What do you want to know about Mauritius? So it's got.
Here we go. I was finding back now. So I think there is a withholding tax of 4%. No, 10%. Yeah. Okay, it's more 10% is calculated from customer winnings. Then you also have VAT as 16% of GGR, which only came into effect in September 25. They love just, some markets, so you look at Europe, it's quite simple. Yeah. It's like, okay, the tax rates, tax rate in Netherlands. Okay. They complain about it. GGR tax rate, they put it up. Okay. You know what the GGR is, you know what the tax rate was, is. They'll keep the tax rate the same in some of the African markets. They'll go, oh, we'll just stick a withholding tax on, or I'll tell you what, I know we're taxing on GGR, but we'll just stick an excise tax on as well, like in Peru. We'll do a customer winnings tax, or let's do a tax on deposits. Let's just do that as well. Without ever understanding the relationship between how deposits, withdrawals, GGR, turnover, everything works. And I say you can have the same tax rates, when you base it on withholding tax and deposit tax or tax on stakes in two markets. But if one is, Uganda is more casino, and you've got something like Nigeria that's predominantly sports, the effective tax rate is going to be hugely different. But anyway, Mauritius.
Yes, Mauritius. 2027, no, not 2027, 2000, I think there was a Gambling Act passed, which did include interactive elements. I'm not sure if they have ever been activated. He obviously has National Lottery, or the Lotto Tech, Mauritius National Lottery, does have I think bookmaking licenses. It might just be limited to football though, and I think there are different categories for football in the country and football held outside of Mauritius. Big for horse racing, as far as I know, as far as I remember. And I'm trying to think what other elements. Does it have any casinos?
It's in the process of trying to privatise its casinos. There are 4 casinos. They're partly state-owned. And have, I don't know where I got this information from, but apparently been running at a significant loss for around 10 years. There are 20 slot parlours, but one race course. VRTs are permitted, as is fixed odds betting on foreign football matches and local horse racing. So you're correct. So, look, sports betting is very restricted. We get data from Lotto Tech on the lottery. There is a sports betting operator that reports data that we then use to kind of gross up our estimates of, what's the estimates in the total market. So we've got the land market's about $100 million US. But it's only like 1 million adult population.
Yeah, it's like 1.26 million total population.
So about 20 million of that's betting, 30 million gaming, and about 50 million is the lottery. And then the online aspect is just tiny. So it's not a big market. There are some casinos to privatise. But really it's just the lottery, followed by some horse racing, and then, foreign football. And that's kind of it. So
there we go.
good.
Yeah.
Let's move on.
Yeah.
Well, while I've got stuff, let's look at the next random country.
Yeah.
And get that done.
Okay, so what are we doing next week?
What are we doing next week? Country. No, that's not the random country generator. Where is it? Okay. Okay, I'll tell you what. I will give you, instead of asking you the questions about it, I will give you some of the answers and you tell me the country.
Okay, let's go for it.
I mean, this is not going to help you one bit. Population is just under 6 million. The language is English, Mandarin, Malay, and Tamil. The national flower is Banda Miss Joaquin, and the national dish is Hainanese chicken rice.
Singapore.
Very good.
Chicken rice. That's what got me.
Okay. Well, assuming it wasn't the national flower.
Well, that was obviously a bit of a giveaway, but the Hainanese chicken rice was the absolute.
Okay. Right, let's get a company. And you know what? I'm going to flip it across. I'm going to go to supplier.
Yep,
so,
let's do it. Right.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Between 1 and 5.
3.
1 and 7.
6.
Golden Matrix.
I mean, they're operator and supplier.
Yeah, well, they're down and supplier on my things.
Okay.
Going for that. It is Golden Matrix Group, based in Las Vegas, Nevada, is an established gaming technology company that develops and owns online gaming IP and builds configurable and scalable white label social gaming platforms for its international customers, located primarily in the Asia Pacific region.
So Golden Matrix also have they acquired Meridian Bet last year. The year before,
they did.
Which then gives them kind of like that's some in-person and some online assets. Interesting one to discuss. We actually, I'm sure you'll remember, you might even make the list for this year. We had Brian, their CEO, in the IGB at ICE studio at ICE.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, I mean, given I wasn't invited into it last year, I just assumed it didn't happen.
Well, it did. I remember that slightly awkward point before when, I think the day before you asked me, am I speaking?
Well,
at the conference, you asked me that.
Yeah, well, I know my place. Right, so we've got a company, we've got a country. I think we can wrap it up and I'll go do some other meetings and make the world a better place one meeting at a time. Okay. I am actually going around Benfica Football Stadium today.
That's exciting.
To be honest, I find stadium tours a little bit dull, but IBEA, the International Betting Integrity Association, who does a lot of work in trying to fight the scourge that is match fixing, that unfortunately is a reality in some segments in the market. They are celebrating. They've got some workshops and celebrating their 20th anniversary. So they're hosting that. We kind of provide some data for them. Great set of guys there, Khalid and his team. So I'm looking forward to a couple of drinks and looking at the stadium.
That would be a fantastic guest. We got
Khalid?
we got Khalid on the podcast. I think that'd be a really good guest.
We'd be able to get that.
Yeah.
Okay. You sort out the Vegas one and then, we'll sort something out.
Nice. Well, on that note, everyone, thank you very much for listening. Big thanks to Ed Birkin for rousing himself from his bed, leaving the, trail of broken bottles and strewn clothes and smashed up hotel rooms to get to wherever he is with that beautiful range of...
I'm just outside the IGB exec lounge that Rosie organised. Before you said it. Yeah, it's a nice quiet space to do some work and meetings.
Everyone, thank you very much for listening to us. This isn't just a Zoom call. We are recording, Ed.
And to our 6 listeners, great to see you again.
So everyone, thank you very much for listening. This has been episode 19 of Right to the Source with Robin Harrison and Ed Birkin. We'll see you in the next one.